Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming. My name is Victoria Ward. I'm the Associate Director for EC Program Quality with Vermont AUIC, and we're here today to talk a little bit about the SPARQS program. Some of you may have some familiarity with it from our newsletters. If not, make sure to go to our website, click on the SPARQS tab, and subscribe to our newsletter so you get the most up-to-date information. So SPARQS. SPARQS is an acronym for the System for Program Access to Resources for Quality Supports. It's a lot of words. What we want you to remember is that SPARQS is support. SPARQS is support for early childhood educators across the field, and we're going to go through what SPARQS is and the various components that make it up. Next. So we've heard from the field loud and clear that there's been some confusion about is STARS and SPARQS the same thing? So we're here first off to tell you they are not the same thing. SPARQS is funded by the Child Development Division, but it is administered by Vermont AUIC. So they're two totally different programs with one very intentional intersection, which we'll get to in a future slide. One of the things we want to talk about as we kind of go through the SPARQS presentation is to let you know that hot off the presses, STARS has announced that the pilot year will be extended, or the pilot period for programs will be extended for a full year through June 2025. So we want you to have that information in your head as you kind of think about how you interact and engage with SPARQS and with STARS. So what is SPARQS? Well, the overarching goal of SPARQS is to help support a culture of quality across the EC landscape and to ensure equitable access to evidence-based resources that support increased program quality. So what do we mean by a culture of quality? When we talk about a culture of quality, we're really talking about sort of a fluid framework that's based around evidence that we know improves the outcome for children. So it's based around all the interactions that you do every day with children. Teachers to children, teachers to families, all those little interactions make up quality, as does a well-supported and resourced workforce. So those are some of the things that we're looking at when we talk about a culture of quality, as well as really starting to embed reflective practice into our work so that we're doing this at all levels of the system. We're setting small goals, working to get there, and seeing, does it work? Do we want to adopt it, adapt it, or abandon it, and kind of move on from there? In terms of the equity piece, this is really a fundamental piece of the SPARQS system, and that is really saying that we want to create a system with the lowest barrier to entry. So what we've seen historically across the state is that some areas are well-resourced, have easy access to those resources, and others do not. So our intention with the SPARQS system is really to make sure that anyone and everyone in the EC field can get the support that they need. Next. So there are three main components of SPARQS. The first is the quality coaching and support services. And this is a tiered menu. So again, we want to capture as many people as we can within this system. So the first tier is just self-directed program resources. We're expanding shared services. This is really great for programs that might need help with like a human resource form. They can go on to shared services, get that form, and move on. Then there are programs that might want a direct consultation. What that means is an unscored class assessment. So all our QSS team, our quality support specialists, are trained and certified in the class tool so that they can provide you with unscored assessments to get you familiar with the class assessment system. And then there are referrals. If a program were to come to us and say, we're having financial management problems, we need help creating a budget, we would say, oh, great, have you heard about First Children's Finance? This would be the people you want to connect with, so we can make those connections for you. The third tier in the coaching and support services are trainings and updates. So SPARQS is really aiming to be proactive and responsive to the field's needs. So what we saw right away was that the field was like, wait a minute, what's class? We don't know a lot about it. And Nikki has worked really hard to come up with trainings that are offered throughout different times a day to capture the most people. So again, this is also a pilot year for SPARQS. So we want feedback. We also want input. If there's needs that you know about, please reach out, because we really want to make sure that the support is valid and what you all need. So that's one of the ways we're being responsive with trainings and updates. And then the fourth sort of most in-depth tier is the coaching and mentoring. And Brenda Metzler, who's our lead quality support specialist, will talk a little bit more about the coaching and mentoring in a future slide. The second component of SPARQS is the program assessments for STARS. So this is that intentional intersection between STARS and SPARQS. So we hold the assessment piece for the STARS team. So we have Nikki, we have 2 full-time assessors, and then we also work with Vermont After School, and they complete the school age after school program assessments. And then finally, the third component of SPARQS is the Vermont Early Childhood Networks. Many of you have met Meg, our resource and networks manager, and the aim there is really to help provide some financial management, administrative support, consultation services to ease some of, to just make the network sort of easier, more accessible, more inclusive. And Beth will get into a little more detail on that in future slides. We go to the next one, Nikki. Perfect. So how, as a program, how do you get into the SPARQS system? So we're building currently a web portal where there'll be a general intake form, and you'll go in. It's a pretty simple form, and based on how you answer the questions, it's going to take you down various paths. So if you go into the general intake form and it says, do you need a class assessment in the next 6 months? Is your STARS renewal date up? It will take you directly down the scored assessment path, which will lead you to Nikki, who will schedule a visit for those assessments. If you answer the questions, you know, in a different way, the algorithm will send you down the coaching and support services, which will either lead you to some referrals or consultations or initiate that relationship with a quality support specialist. And with that, we'll talk a little bit more about assessments. And I'm very excited to introduce Nikki Bearer, who's a program manager and our lead assessor, and has tons of experience in doing these assessments. So we're lucky to have her.
Thank you so much, Victoria. Hi, everybody. My name is Nikki Bearer. I am the program manager lead assessor for the SPARQS team at Vermont AEYC. And I'm going to spend a little bit of time today chatting with you about the scored assessment process. As Victoria mentioned earlier, we offer class trainings through the SPARQS team through Vermont AEYC, and then the Vermont After School program offers the YPQA, PQA, ELPQA tools to the Vermont After School programs. For early ed programs here in the state of Vermont, we use the CLASS tool, which is the classroom assessment scoring system. Currently, there are 2 full-time trained assessors, myself and Brenda Windhausen, who are out in the field visiting programs. When we come to visit you, the class focuses on adult-child interactions, and so we're going to be observing the way that adults interact with the children in classrooms and also the way that children interact with each other in the classroom. And our hope is to give you some feedback about how the teachers in your programs can increase and create more beneficial interactions with the children that they're interacting with on a daily basis. Programs who are early MTSS programs or programs that are NAEYC accredited or Head Start programs that currently use the class tool as an assessment do not need to have scored assessments through the SPARQS team. NACE accredited programs can choose to have assessors come in and perform assessments, but it is not required to maintain their 5-star level due to the rigor of the NACE accreditation process. When you go to the SPARQS portal and request a scored assessment, those requests come to me. I assign them to either myself or Brenda W., and one of us will reach out via email to schedule a date to come to your program. For scored assessments, we need to observe at least 50% of the classrooms in your program, and we need to observe classrooms in each age range that you serve. So if you serve infants, toddlers, and preschoolers, we'll need to observe at least one classroom in each of those age ranges. We will spend at least 2 hours in each classroom performing observations. We do 4 cycles of observations. A cycle includes a 20-minute observation and then 10 minutes outside of the classroom scoring. And then after we finish our observations, we type up and send a report to the programs, including lots of information that programs need. We send strengths, weaknesses, areas for improvement, and then also offer programs the opportunity to meet via Zoom to go over those reports if needed. We are currently booking out 6 months, so I am booking observations into June. Brenda is as well. So if you're interested in getting on our calendars, I would recommend visiting the SPARQS page and filling out that form sooner rather than later. And I also just want to plug, we do have some upcoming class introductory trainings. On January 13th and 17th, we'll be doing an introduction to the infant class. The 20th and 24th, we'll be doing an introduction to the toddler class. And on January 31st and February 3rd, we'll be offering an introduction to the pre-K class. The link right here, you can use that to sign up for these trainings. And that link is also on the SPARQS page as well. So please feel free to visit that page and sign up for those trainings. And I look forward to seeing you there. And the last piece that I'm sort of going to talk about in terms of assessment is our prioritization criteria. So we look at a few different pieces when we're trying to decide how we're going to visit programs. One of the first pieces that we look at is the STARS certificate renewal date. So if your renewal date is coming up, we'll want to fit your program in sooner rather than later. Programs who are at a 4 or 5-star level are prioritized, and that's generally because these programs are either specialized care providers or they're participating in universal pre-K, and we want to make sure that they're able to maintain that status and continue to serve those populations of children. And then the other piece that we look at when we're prioritizing assessments is programs that are at a STARS level 1 or 2 who want to increase their STARS levels to become specialized care providers or universal pre-K providers. So those are some of the things that we look at when we're determining where to fit programs into our schedule. And with that, I'm going to turn the microphone, as they say, over to Brenda Metzler, and she's going to talk with us a little bit about coaching and mentoring.
Thank you, Nikki, and thank you, Victoria, for setting us up. So as this slide notes, I'm Brenda Metzler, Program Manager and Lead Quality Support Specialist on the SPARQS team. I come to this work after 3 decades in learning environments with infants and toddlers and preschoolers and kindergartners and with early childhood educators across central Vermont. My work with educators has been as a program director, as an instructor, and as a coach and mentor. I live in Bridgewater, and I will serve as the quality support specialist for Windsor County, most of Rutland County, Southern Orange County, and Caledonia County. I'll just say a brief bit, we can advance to the next slide. The goal of SPARQS, as Victoria said, is that every early childhood education program in Vermont will have, one of the goals is that every early childhood education program in Vermont will have access to a quality support specialist, or as we call ourselves, QSS. But before we get into the nuts and bolts of what members of the QSS team can offer, let's take a look at how we manage incoming requests. And even before that, I want to acknowledge you. We recognize that all programs are living through changes and living into new systems right now. It's an amazing time to be in this profession in this state. And even the most seasoned early childhood educators are looking for support to understand and navigate these changes. So while developing SPARQS, we realized that we would need to have a way to effectively manage your requests for coaching and mentoring. Top priority goes to programs referred to us by a state agency. That could be the licensing department, the STARS office, someone from the AOE, the Agency of Education, or Children's Integrated Services. Next are new programs or programs with a new director at the helm, and programs seeking to increase capacity or that are at risk of decreasing capacity. And then programs seeking to increase their STARS level, and programs serving high numbers of families that represent minority racial and ethnic groups, and families, or a high number of families receiving child care financial assistance, or families whose children are receiving specialized care. And if you aren't sure where you fit here, don't worry. Just reach out. We will respond and we'll help you figure out, as that slide showed sort of the flow. When our portal goes live in a couple of weeks, you will get to complete a brief needs assessment to sort of help us determine flow. And that will look very familiar to you. We designed it around Vermont's core knowledge areas for early childhood education, and you get to check the area or areas where you would like support. And then we will get you connected with the quality support specialist serving your region of the state, and they will be in touch with you to develop an action plan together. And we can move to the next slide, which does get a little bit into the nuts and bolts of coaching and mentoring. So there are 6 of us, and we are experienced early childhood educators who come to this work by a variety of pathways with a broad and deep range of experiences. The rest of the team will share more about that when they introduce themselves, but I would like to mention a few at the top. We come to you by way of private programs and public programs, nonprofit and for-profit programs, family childcare home programs and center-based, parent-child centers, and nature-based programs. All of us have been classroom teachers and program directors. Some of us hold teaching certificates. Some of us have previous experience in coaching or mentoring. All of us have navigated Vermont's early childhood landscape for all of our professional careers or most of our professional practice. We've developed an initial map for the 6 of us to cover the state. And in a later slide, you'll get to see that. You'll get to see which team member is here for you. Everyone is trained in the class observation tool, and we are certified for rater reliability, which is extremely valuable when you request an unscored assessment or what we're calling a class consultation. When you request a class consultation, your QSS will schedule a time that works for you to come into your program and do the observation and give you the follow-up report and go over it with you. And perhaps, you will say, hey, I identify some practices where we'd like to work on. So, they'll take it from there with you. We are also all trained in practice-based coaching. And that's important because in practice-based coaching, you are the person who sets the goals. And then we are here to support you in working toward those goals, your goals, in concrete, step-by-step ways. And then it includes reflective practice. And I want to be sure that you know that we offer flexible scheduling because we know you're often unable to meet during program hours. So we can be available to you at times that work for you. Before you open, during rest time, in the evening, and sometimes even on weekends. So we can decide that together once we've gotten connected. We can also meet via phone or Zoom, and we'll certainly do site visits. So we'll come out and meet you in person. We also, I think it's important to understand that we just really are well-versed in Vermont's early childhood system, so we can offer support for STARS. We can connect you to resources. We can refer you to the best source for the information that you're seeking, like First Children's Finance or Northern Lights, or just a whole host of partner organizations. And because we don't always know the answer. If we don't know the answer, it's likely that we know someone who does. And so it could be us. It could be that we send you to shared services or one of our partners. But we probably know who does hold the information that you're looking for. I recognize that, oh yeah, I see on the slide, it says we're going live mid-January. Yes. Our portal is going live mid-January, and we're very excited that we'll have that place where we can interface. And so when if we develop an action plan together, you'll be able to see it and we'll be able to see it, so we can work on it together. And I realize that all of this is a lot to digest, but we really want you to know that we look forward to being here for you. We look forward to being there for you. And I'm excited now to introduce you to the rest of the quality support specialists. Actually, I'd like for them to introduce themselves to you, and we'll start with Abby Fish.
Hey, thanks, Brenda. My name is Abby Fish. I live in Waterbury, and I will be serving Essex, Orleans, and Lamoille counties. I come to this role with 29 years of experience in the early childhood field. I've been an teacher, an aide, a director of a nonprofit organization, and most recently, I was a family child care provider. I live in Waterbury with my family, and I'm so excited. This, as Brenda has said, this is an exciting time for the field. There's so many things happening in so many positive ways. All of these changes, as I've gotten to know the class tool, I really appreciate that STARS has changed to embrace this tool, because it really focuses on the work that everybody has been doing for years and years and years, and that we know is the most important, which is the interactions that we're having with the children. So I'm super excited to be out in the field supporting everyone in learning this new tool, and supporting in other ways too. As a home provider, it can be isolating, and I'm really excited to be a person that is on call essentially, and be like, what do I do with my STARS application, or how do I set up things with families to I don't know, I'm sort of rambling, I apologize. Anyway, I'm very excited to be doing this work, meeting new people, and building new relationships and making new connections within the field. Is Anne next?
Yep. Hello, everyone. Welcome. I am Ann Simons, and I am so excited to be coming to you as your quality support specialist in Bennington, Windham, and Southern Rutland County. I live in Sunderland, Vermont, which is a small town nestled in between Manchester and Arlington. My own journey has not been linear at all, and has taken me down many different paths in our field. I've worked as a home provider, a teacher in an infant, toddler, and preschool classroom. And most recently, I was the director of an infant toddler program in a parent-child center. When I learned about the opportunity to be a part of the amazing work here at Vermont AEYC and in our state, I was inspired to join the team as I believe strongly in supporting and empowering our programs and the people that work tirelessly every day for the children and families that we serve. I'm looking forward to being a part of an immense movement towards increasing quality and equity in our systems, being able to partner with programs and achieving their hopes, dreams, and goals motivates me to bring my best self to this work every day and pull from the immense knowledge that we all bring with us. This has driven me to continue my own learning, and I'm excited to say that I will be graduating in May with my bachelor's degree, something that I have been working on throughout my 29 years in the field, and it's been a very long journey. Outside of my professional work, my biggest accomplishment has been my family and raising my two boys, who are now 24 and 21. I guess they're not boys anymore, they're men. And when I find free time, I enjoy listening to live music, traveling with my husband, reading any good book, and shopping, which my husband would say that I am a professional shopper, probably. I am hopeful that we will find joy in our work together and be energized to bring that joy back into the work that you do in the programs and classrooms we serve every day. So thank you all for the hard work that you do. And I'm excited to be able to partner with you all. Ariana, I'm going to pass it off to you.
Right. Hey everyone, my name is Ariana and I live in Duxbury. I'll be the quality support specialist in Washington, some of Chittenden, and northern Orange counties. When I'm not working, you can find me outside in any type of weather, cooking, listening to music, traveling, doing yoga, or reading. I've been in the early childhood field for 10 years, and I've worked in a variety of public and private childcare settings as a paraeducator, classroom teacher, and director. My passion lies in nature and play-based education, as well as social emotional learning and supporting families. I've pursued this position with Vermont AYC because of my growing interest in working more closely with educators. As a director, I remembered, I just would have loved the opportunity to work with a coach, to access more supports that I know that my program needed, to explore our goals. And I just remember being so busy with the day-to-day in our program that it was hard to find the time to search for what we needed to dive deeper into our practices. The reflection and goal setting process was something I always wanted to do, but I didn't know where to start. And I'm happy that I can now be that person to guide you. As Abby had mentioned, I really appreciate how the class tool looks at what you're already doing on a daily basis and highlights your strengths and helps to set goals. When we look for ways to improve quality in our programs, I truly believe this is where we find inspiration to continue our work. And a focus on quality benefits the children and families in our care and strengthens the early childhood profession. So I look forward to working with you to listen, advocate, offer resources, create and set goals, seek professional development opportunities, and make connections with other early childhood professionals in the field. So I look forward to doing what I can to support you. Thanks for being here today. And I will pass it to Krista, I think.
Hi, everybody. I'll pass it to you next, Julie. My name is Krista Griffith, and thanks for taking the time to hear all of this amazing information that we have to share. So I live in New Haven, which is in Addison County. So I'll be available to Addison County, Southern Chittenden, Northern Rutland, with some flexibility in those areas, of course. And I've been supporting in the field since 2012 in center-based settings. I've served as lead educator, mentor teacher, and administrator,
assistant director, eventually a site director. After that, kind of swooped back into the classroom. So my journey has kind of bounced around quite a bit. And really, I echo the sentiments of those before me. Really looking forward to teaming with programs to give your strengths even more momentum and help build up strength where you guys need it. It's just a really exciting time for each of us as we strive for equitable quality for ourselves, for the communities that we serve, and in advancing as a profession. So thanks for being here. And I just really look forward to meeting all of you guys. Thank you so much. Julie, yours.
Thanks, Krista. Hi, everyone. I am Julie Beekler. I live in most of Chittenden County, depending on sharing the load with Ariana and Krista, and then also Franklin and Grand Isle counties. I have a background in both elementary and early childhood education, but most recently early childhood education. I was an infant teacher, a preschool teacher, and spent the past 5 years as the director of a nonprofit program.
I wonder if we lost her. It looked like her internet was spotty. When she comes back, we'll hear from her again.
I'm
She's
back.
back.
I'm not sure what
Yay!
happened. I got kicked out. Sorry, everyone. Okay, so I'll be serving Chittenden County, Franklin, and Grand Isle counties. My experience and expertise that I'm bringing to the table here is being an infant teacher, a preschool teacher, and most recently the director of a nonprofit program in Chittenden County. I feel really motivated by all of the changes that are happening in the state right now. And I know change can feel really unsettling to a lot of people. So I hope to be a calming presence and a voice of optimism to anyone who may be feeling uneasy. And yeah, like many others said, the class tool is going to, I think, bring a lot of positive change to how we rate programs, how we're looking at what quality looks like, and how we can make improvements if needed within programs, rather than just a checklist of things that we have to do to consider ourselves quality. So I really look forward to supporting programs in whatever way you may need, and can't wait to be out in the field.
Thank you. Thank you, Quality Support Specialist, for telling us a little bit about yourself. I'm pleased now to turn it over to Beth Wallace. She is the Associate Director for Early Childhood Educator Engagement here at Vermont AEYC, and she's going to walk us through the next few slides. Thanks, Beth.
Thanks, Brenda. Hi, folks. This is Meg Atwood, which is not me. You just heard I'm Beth Wallace. Meg is helping facilitate this webinar, and we're so appreciative of her for doing that. She is the main point person for networks and resources under SPARQS, and my role is to support her in that work. So I offered to do the explaining while she does the typing. Appreciate that, Meg. The first thing we wanted to talk about was, what does SPARQS say about the networks? What is really, next slide, please, included in the contract when we talk about networks under SPARQS? One of the things that I think the state and that this program recognized is that good, high quality, robust networks lead to high program quality and a supported workforce, right? So that's kind of how the networks came to be under the SPARQS umbrella. And just, I highlighted here some of the things that Vermont AEYC was charged with when it came to networks administration. So you see things like a survey of the field, developing and submitting a strategic plan to the state for networks, creating and administering an application process for networks to access funding that will help support their established goals, developing definitions for networks, network leadership structure, the network leader role, membership, things like that. Developing and providing technical assistance and resources to strengthen and sustain the networks, which is work that Meg has already begun doing. Conducting statewide network leader meetings to make sure that all parts of the state are supported and have the most up-to-date resources and information on a regular basis. And providing active and intentional consultation services to network leaders. And again, that's something that Meg has already started doing. So let's talk about the survey, because that's what's really kicked off the network work for us and is guiding the strategic plan development. Next slide, please. Great. So the peer network survey was sent out, was distributed over the summer in August and the first part of September. We were really pleased with the amount of responses we received. 174 unique responses is a pretty good sample from the field in Vermont. I want to be clear that we were intentional about not just surveying current network participants, that we also wanted to hear the voices of people in the field who weren't already part of an established network, because it was important to know why not and what we could be doing better. This slide is a breakdown of who we heard from, and these numbers are not distinct. So you see, 39 of these responses came from current network members. 85 were directors. You could be counted both as a network member and a director, or maybe a director and a family home childcare owner, or an early childhood educator and a network member and a network leader. So again, these numbers are not distinct, but it gives us a good picture of who we were hearing from. And we did a lot of work following the end of this survey to break down the responses in a lot of different ways, right? So we had all of this data and we spent a lot of time saying, okay, let's hear what directors had to say about this. Let's hear what network leaders had to say. Let's hear from the people who are not involved with the network at all. So that was a lot of fun work. And the next step in that was sharing those results with network leaders. Next slide, please. This is a very small sample of the type of data that we collected, but there were highlights here that I thought it was worth sharing today. One of the things we asked folks was to rate their what they found was most valuable about network participation. And these results were not really surprising to us. They were pretty validating. So peer-to-peer professional networking and exchange of ideas was most valuable to current members. Information and resource sharing, professional development, connection and sense of belonging, and materials and equipment. We also asked current and past network leaders what was or is most rewarding about network leadership, and what are the most challenging aspects of network leadership. Some of the most challenging aspects were things like marketing and communication in order to grow network membership and attendance, planning and executing events, writing grant proposals, budgeting and reporting, planning and executing social events, and maintaining knowledge of current ECE system resources and information to share with members, especially now when there is just so much information and more coming out, it seems, every week. The really good news about this is that we are poised and we have the resources to help relieve those challenges from network leaders so that they can focus on the aspects that they found most rewarding, like planning professional development, making connections with others, running the meetings, planning their goals for their networks. And again, Meg has already started doing this. So the data collection and analysis that we focus on, and the areas that will be really concentrating on in the development of the strategic plan are around professional development, leadership development, because we know that we need to have good, strong leaders, that we need to have a pipeline of new leaders, that we need to be supporting new leaders, and accessing all of the wisdom and experience and expertise from people who have served in these roles for a long time. looking at structure and membership and providing that technical assistance. And one of the things that the survey showed us was that there is ample opportunity to increase equity and access to networks around the state. So everything that we're talking about here that we're focusing on, we're also looking at through that equity lens. Right now, as we move through this process, networks are submitting professional development requests to MEG. And we've met with all of those leaders so they know what that paper process looks like right now, or, email process looks like right now. And MEG is able to respond quickly and helpfully to those requests. A network may say, we already know the type of training we want. We have the speaker picked out. We have the place. We just want Vermont AUIC to help sponsor the training and take care of the DPD forms and all of that good stuff. And that's fine. We can do that. Another network may say, we are really interested in supporting children with disabilities as a topic for a professional development opportunity, but we don't have a good sense of who we want as a facilitator. And Meg can take that and do that background research and provide assistance in that way. We've also made sure that networks have funding ongoing throughout this process to conduct network activities, and that while we develop the strategic plan and go through the approval process with CDD and then talk about implementation, that networks aren't stuck and not able to progress and perform their regular activities. So we've also talked with leaders about processes for submitting reimbursement requests and things like that. Next slide, please. So the timeline of this network's work: first, we administered the peer network survey, collecting responses from the entire field. Right now, we're at the tail end of sharing the survey data. So we did present to a focus group of network leaders who had volunteered to receive that data, chew on it, give us additional feedback and ideas. Next, on January 16th, we'll be providing the same presentation to the SPARQS Advisory Council to get additional ideas and feedback. After that, we will use the survey feedback and what we've heard from those two groups to draft a strategic plan that's both responsive to the field and meets the goals of SPARQS. Once we've drafted that plan, we submit it to Child Development Division for approval. And we wanted to be really, again, clear with networks and network leaders that we know that that may take a little bit of time, but we will still continue to support the networks and their activities for as long as that takes. Once the strategic plan is approved by CDD, Vermont AUIC will present to network leaders and gather additional input about rolling out implementation of that strategic plan. Really, it's our goal to involve the field, involve the networks, members and leaders in as much of this planning and implementation as possible and to do with, right? And then finally, once that's all done, regional and statewide networks will benefit from increased membership, robust technical support, and leadership development opportunities, leading ultimately to high program quality. That is the goal. That is networks. I think, Victoria, I'll turn it back to you.
Great, thank you. Well, hopefully this was really helpful. Hopefully it was a broad overview to get you informed with what SPARQS is, what components it entails, and how it can help you. Like I think numerous people have said, we recognize all the systems change that's going on right now, and it's overwhelming for seasoned directors. And we can only imagine for new directors and new programs for family childcare homes. So we just really want everyone to understand we're here to support in different ways and, hoping to help you in the months ahead. If you would like to reach out, please reach out to info@Vermont AUIC, which will get you to Emily Huff, who is our intake specialist. And that will kind of get you hooked up with our teams. And we are anticipating the coaching to go live in the next couple weeks, so stay tuned for that. Again, certainly subscribe to our newsletter and you will get all the most up-to-date information as we kind of roll it out. And then finally, just to go over, because it seems like we have a little time, some of the questions that were in the chat is will there be help with CQI plans? Yes, that's something that we were actually working directly with Child Development Division to figure out what's the best way. You know, is it communities of practice, or how can we get out there and help programs understand the CQI plan process? We've also heard there's a lot of questions about the STARS applications. So that is something that our QSS team has worked really diligently over the past few months to become really familiar with. You know, we've been lucky to have the time for our quality support specialists to get trained on all these new systems, because we know everyone who's in direct care right now probably doesn't have the time to spend, you know, really investigating and getting familiar with all of these. So we're hopeful to be a helping hand, and we look forward to a continued relationship with all of you. And thanks for coming today. I hope everyone's staying safe and dry. I know it's been a wild weather week, and we appreciate your time and energy today to come and listen. So thank you very much. And with that, we'll send you off to have a wonderful rest of your day.
If we did not answer your question in the frequently asked questions, I see there's a few pending. We will be kind of summarizing these up in next week's SPARQS newsletter.